Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
Who we got?
DJ Cassidy.
Cassidy, what's up, brother?
How are you, sir?
Blessed, black, and highly favored. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you, Envy?
I'm doing well.
It's great to be here. Your chairs are even more regal in person.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm kind of jealous I'm not sitting in one.
I don't believe you're a real person, Cassidy. I believe you're artificial intelligence.
I'll take it.
You move very robotically.
I'll take that. I'll take that. Intelligence, anything with intelligence is a good thing.
True, absolutely.
I'll take intelligence.
So for people that don't know who DJ Cassidy is, who is DJ Cassidy? Where did you get your start, and what influenced you to be a DJ?
That's a great question. I asked my parents for turntables for my 10th birthday.
Now, where are you from for people that don't know?
I'm from New York City.
Where at New York?
I'm from the Upper East Side of Manhattan.
Okay.
I was always infatuated with hip-hop since as far as I can remember. And I wanted turntables as my way to contribute to the culture.
Now, what was your first artist? What was your introduction into hip-hop? Like, what made you start loving it?
So, oddly enough, I have a memory from when I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I was at my grandmother's house. I was napping in my stroller. And I remember waking up from that nap, and the movie Breakin' was on TV.
At what age?
3 or 4 years old.
You remember that?
I remember this.
Jesus.
I can actually picture it.
Okay.
And somewhere along the line, my grandmother recorded the movie for me, and I became infatuated with that movie. And, you know, for those who don't know, that movie is a West Coast movie. So kind of an odd, introduction into hip hop. But I soon thereafter became infatuated with Run DMC and Jam Master Jay. And then I learned about Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc, and Africa Bambaataa. I was never into comic books or sports. So those three guys became like my superheroes. They were larger than life. And I was a hip-hop kid, and I asked my parents for 2 turntables and a mixer for my 10th birthday. DJ Cassidy was born, and I thought to embrace hip-hop, you had to unembrace everything else. And I only wanted to play hip-hop music. But as I grew up, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I researched Flash, Bambaataa, Herc, and I realized that in creating hip-hop, they weren't playing hip-hop because there was no hip-hop. They were creating hip-hop music and culture by playing all kinds of music. R&B, of course, disco, soul, but also rock and roll, Latin music, everything under the sun coming together. And that totally inspired me and completely changed who I was as a kid. And I suddenly wanted to learn about all kinds of music and play all kinds of music. And that really lies at the foundation of who I am today.
Why DJing and not rap? Like, what made you go towards the DJing aspect?
To be honest, I don't know. I just became infatuated with that. I saw it and it called me. And those same 2 Technique 1200s that I got for my 10th birthday are the same 2 I have today.
Oh, so your parents bought you Technique 1200s for your birthday?
Technique 1200s.
Jesus
at 10
Christ.
years old. And they're the same Technique 1200s that I have today.
I got Geminis as my first turntable. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Were your parents ever upset? Did they ever want you to go into another field? Because, I mean, back then especially, people didn't think hip-hop could be a lucrative multi-billion-dollar business. So did they ever want you to do anything else?
Well, I never thought about DJing as a job until it became one. It was my everything. I sat in the room 24/7 on weekends. I had very little social life. It was my hobby. It was my passion. It was my everything. So by the end of high school, DJing became a job. I went to college, NYU, and I DJed all throughout college. And by the time I graduated college, I never really made a decision to make this my career because it had already become my career.
Wow.
Through high school and through college. So I never had that conversation with them. By the time I graduated when I was 21, 22 years old, it was already inevitable.
Was it difficult for you starting off DJing? Because people would look from the outside and say, well, he's not black, he's not from the culture. Was that difficult back then, doing those type of parties and venues and events?
I don't think it was difficult. I just, I was always myself, and I always wanted to contribute to the culture and to celebrate the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that if I was true to myself and true to the music, that everything would pan out the way it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it did.
Yeah, New York is such an interesting place because it's such a melting pot. And even when you think back to the beginning of hip-hop, it was blacks, it was Latinos, it was whites. So it is always interesting when the cultural appropriation conversations start because it's like, yo, they were here from the beginning, from the inception of it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, of course, in 1979, 80, 81, 82, but from what I can see, I agree. It felt inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a lot of people coming together to create something that went against the grain. It was rebellious, but it was filled with love.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask when it was, they believe they said it started in 73. But I was going to say, when you went to NYU and you were DJing these parties and DJing these things, who did you connect with? Like, who were you looking up to at that point? Like, I always tell everybody knows that Clue was my mentor or idol or somebody I looked up to. Who was yours? I
would say at that point, there were a few categories. There was like the Grandmaster Flash, Kool Herc, Bambaataa, Jam Master Jay.
Of course.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was Funk Master Flex.
Of course.
Living here in New York City. And then there was Kid Capri.
Of course.
The king of all parties. And, as a young kid, it was interesting. I idolized DJs that I had never heard DJ a party. Because where was the access to hear them?
Mm-hmm.
So you idolized people that you never really saw play until a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you idolize someone that you've never seen in person? I mean, some you heard on the radio.
That's every idol, for the most part, growing up as a kid.
Nah, because if you idolize a player, you see them play baseball. If you idolize a rapper, you see them rap. If you idolize an actor or wrestler, you see them.
DJing.
Well, Flex on the radio, Kid Capri maybe a mixtape, but it's different to be live. But yes, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I grew as a DJ, I started not only to see these people live, but to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
People often say, it's so great how you lived your dream. All this started so young and so naturally. I didn't dream that far ahead because I was in it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just putting one foot in front of the next. If I had to say one thing I dreamed of, I wanted my favorite rappers to know my name.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know my heroes. And I can say now that I've achieved that dream. I have strong relationships and friendships with the mass majority of my musical heroes.
I was going to ask.
Did being white help you?
It's a very interesting question. I guess my first answer is I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're a fish out of water, sometimes you stick out. And when you stick out, perhaps it's easier to get attention at first.
Mm-hmm.
And then it comes down to how you deal with that attention and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember, first hearing of you, didn't know who you were, right? But you're retiring who you were, right? Because you were known around the city with the hat that you're wearing now and usually a bow tie. Was that something that you wanted to do? Like that was your thing, so you would stand out from everybody else?
Yeah. So the boater hat started a long time ago. At this point, I don't even remember when, not in my teens, but at some point in my 20s. I always wanted to look like something. I always thought that when you were on stage, that it wasn't only important how you sounded, but how you looked, because the people that I looked up to looked like something. If you draw a silhouette of Michael Jackson, you don't need any facial features.
That's real.
Everyone around the world recognizes an outline of his body based on his pants, which were short, and his hat sometimes, and the way he stood on his toes.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with Run DMC. And those were my idols. You know, you could draw them. You know, to this day, if an alien came from outer space and said, what is hip hop? Even through the evolution of hip hop and style and fashion, I would still probably show them a picture of Run DMC. To me, that still looks like hip hop. Obviously, you know, it's completely evolved, you know, the way we dress and walk and talk, but I would still probably show them a picture of Run DMC. So
that's interesting. I mean, I think that we still need to break it up into categories because there is a New York hip hop, there are East Coast hip hop, there's a West Coast hip hop, there's a down south hip hop. I don't know if one of those images could be all encompassing for all of them.
It wouldn't. Yeah. I was just saying if I had to pick one gun to my head, but yes, I agree. So, you know, I always felt it was important to, you know, to have a look, you know, and to have a way to carry yourself. And, you know, through the years, you know, I tried a lot of things, but somehow the boater hat stuck.
I was going to ask, you know, when you look yourself up or we Google you, the first thing, or one of the first things that says is you were founded by Diddy. So was Diddy the one that pushed you to the forefront? Were you founded by Diddy? Did Diddy find you? Explain that story, how you and Diddy's relationship is so good.
So Puffy had a profound effect in my life. I was 19 years old DJing at a club in New York called Lotus on 14th Street and 9th Avenue. And it was the hottest club in New York. And I had just got a night there, but it was like the whack night in like the basement. And I was playing the whack room on the whack night on a rainy night. And it was like 3 a.m. and I'm playing the soul classics of the 70s and 80s. So for those who don't know what that means, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Prince, Luther Vandross, you know, Shaka. And Puffy comes out of the corner of the room and starts dancing by himself. And, you know, for a 19-year-old at that point in the year 2000, that's like, you know, God just walked to the dance floor, the king of New York, the king of all parties, the king of hip-hop. And I remember him dancing past 4 a.m. and the manager of the club coming up to me and saying, I assume you want to keep going. I'm like, yes. He walks out around 5 a.m, walks by the DJ booth and says, who's the DJ? I say, I'm the DJ. And he says, who's been here all night playing all these old records? I said, me. So he looked at me crazy, like, what?
Because you were white.
And young.
And young.
And young.
Yeah.
Yeah, both, probably. And he wrote down his name and number, Puffy, and a 917 number on a napkin and said, call me tomorrow. So I was a freshman at NYU.
Did it have a heart on it too, or just?
No.
Stupid, man.
No, napkin, yeah. So I was so nervous to call. I made every excuse not to call. Went to one class. Oh, I got to go to the next class. You know, I was so nervous to call. Finally, I called and I got a voicemail. It said, God is the greatest, beep. I stuttered through this message. I didn't know what I said. It was the most inarticulate message I've ever left in my life. So I said, you know what? He's not going to call back, but all right, it's a start. So went back to class, came out of the next class, and I had a voicemail from an assistant saying, hi, I'm calling for Sean Puffy Combs. Please call us back. So I took the train back to my mom's. I said, Mom, he called me back. I locked myself in a room. I called back, and I was like, hi, it's DJ Cassidy. I said, hold on, please. And he came right on the phone.
Wow.
He's like, yo, what's up, Playboy? I'm like, what's up, Puff? You know, like I had no idea what to say. And he's like, how old are you? I was like 19. I think I was 19. And he said, how do you know how to play those records like that? And I said, like what? And he goes, like you lived them. And I didn't know at the time what that meant. And now in retrospect, probably one of the greatest compliments I've ever received. I didn't know what he meant at the time, but what I think he meant now is a DJ plays records differently when you live through them, right? When you live through a record coming out and you live through its hottest moment and you remember what you played after that record or before that record contextually, you know? I had no idea what he meant. but it was one of the greatest compliments. But anyway, I DJ'd, I think, his 32nd birthday a couple months after that, and I DJ'd his 50th birthday, 2 years ago. And he's been a major part of my life, and I met a lot of people I went on to play for through him, and he's called on me throughout all the years, and I love him for that. He saw in me something before anyone else did.
Who is the biggest person you've played for? Would you say it's Barack Obama? Would you say Michelle Obama's birthday party?
Yes.
Would you say Puff, Hov? Who's the top five? Let's say the top five.
Well, certainly Obama. I was the first DJ to ever play a presidential inauguration. I was the first DJ to ever play at the White House. I DJ'd Barack Obama's first inauguration, second inauguration, 50th birthday.
How was that call?
That kind of call was a evolution. It wasn't him who requested me the first time, but by the second time it was.
Got you.
You were the only DJ?
Only DJ at all these things. His 50th birthday at the White House, Michelle's 50th birthday at the White House, a random party at the White House with Prince just because they wanted to have a party with me and Prince. I mean, I remember getting a call from the social secretary of the White House saying the president is planning a party for the First Lady's 50th birthday, but he wants to make sure that you're available before we choose a date. I mean, mind-boggling phone calls.
Do you
How much
charge
do you charge
the
that?
president?
I don't.
Yeah, I was like, you can't charge Barack.
I don't.
I would.
I didn't.
You got the budget.
I didn't.
How much would you have charged? Because I know it had to cross your mind.
Don't like talking about money.
Yeah.
But those, I don't say those things lightly. I spit them out. But those nights at the White House, of which there were over a dozen, were the greatest nights of my life. I mean, I remember standing in the red room next to the party room, calling my grandmother when I wasn't supposed to have a cell phone in that room. And I'm looking out the center window of the White House. I mean, like the columns, like the front door window, facing the Capitol building, calling my grandmother, saying, "Mama, I'm at the White House in the red room. The president's about to announce me on stage." And she bursts out in tears. The most surreal feeling to be there.
Just to introduce you?
Yep. At his 50th birthday, Janelle Monáe performed. It's very casual. And he gets on stage. But when I say stage, like a 1 foot high stage, not like a massive stage with maybe 400 people in the room. And like you'd imagine, ladies and gentlemen, Janelle Monáe. Janelle, thank you so much. This is so amazing. I'm bringing to the stage my favorite DJ, like that.
Did you tape it?
No.
I thought D Nice was Barack Obama's favorite DJ.
You can have more than one.
I guess. That's a big compliment just to hand out to people. You know what I mean?
I mean, at his 50th birthday, I'll tell you a quick story. I get a tap on the shoulder. I'm about to go on, same night. Just called my grandmother, and I'm about to go on. Get a tap on the shoulder. Stevie Wonder wants to talk to you. Like asking permission. I'm like, yes, of course. Where's Stevie? So Stevie comes up to me and he goes, "Cassidy, I want to surprise the president and jam with you." So I go, yeah, okay. He goes, "I want to do Signed Sealed. Can you drop a beat for me?" He straight up walks on this riser as the president's announcing me. No talk of what we're doing. I have nothing queued up in Serato. And the president's like, "Oh my God, I think we have a surprise. Stevie Wonder. And DJ Cassidy, you ready?" And it happens. In 60 seconds, I'm thinking, what could I drop, loop, instrumental? What do I have for Signed Sealed Delivered? So I pull a Billy Squier big beat. Guys know what that is?
No.
Okay. Billy Squier was used for Run DMC Here We Go and for Jay-Z 99 Problems.
Okay.
Okay. So for those listening, it's a rock song from the 70s, but you know it from these epic songs, 99 Problems, Here We Go. The first 4 bars is the illest drum loop of all time. Similar tempo to Signed Sealed, whatever that is, 95 BPM, I don't know. I pull a Billy, this is all happening in 30 seconds. I pull a Billy Squier big beat. Chicka chicka boom, ba ba boom boom, ba ba boom. And I don't have a loop set. So I'm actually going back and forth every 4 bars. Because you would just have a loop. I wouldn't have to do it live.
Right.
Nothing prepared. Stevie starts playing the chords to Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Dun, dun, dun. at that moment, I was like, I could die tonight.
Question: why not just play Signed, Sealed, Delivered as the DJ? Like,
Well, he said drop a beat. I don't know. I got the impression he wanted some kind of cool improvisational.
Oh, gotcha,
he didn't
gotcha,
want to
gotcha,
sing
gotcha.
over himself. But yeah, you're right. In theory,
got you.
I don't know. I got the impression that he would have looked at me like, that's all you could come up with.
Yeah.
So I'm going table to table like Jam Master Jay did at the Funhouse in 1983 to the one recording of Here We Go by Run DMC, which is not a studio, it's like at the club. And I turn kind of like I pivot my face. I'm facing the crowd, but I pivot to my left. And it's Jay-Z, Chris Rock, and Spike Lee nodding their head like this. Boom, ba, boom, boom, ba, with that mean face we get in hip hop when we love a beat. And I just go, this might be the greatest moment of my life.
Wow.
Wow. I didn't want to cut you off. You was talking about your grandma. So your grandma is aware of what it is you do. Like she.
Yeah, so my grandma was 95. She died a few months
God bless
ago,
the dead.
survived the Holocaust.
Wow.
She grew up in Vienna, Austria, kind of a well-to-do girl with had a chef and a nanny. And I used to say to her, how do you know when to leave? There was no like news covering Hitler. It's not like now. Hitler's coming on, the Central Park Drive. Like there was no news. So she once told me, imagine looking outside the Upper East Side window on a weekday afternoon at 4 p.m. and not seeing a single car or person. You knew it was time to leave. And her family left, her brother and her parents, and were on foot for 4 years, literally like dodging Hitler. Craziest story of all time. Probably my biggest influence was her in my way of thinking, how I see the world, my political ideologies, and my fashion. Elegance was like her thing. I wore all her cardigans and brooches and everything. And so, yeah, she was my biggest fan. Every Page 6 mention she cut out. She had the press kit for years. And she passed away a few months ago, lived an amazing life. But she was like my number one fan.
How did her seeing a first black president impact her?
I think she was happy to see kind of an America that she dreamt about when she came here. When she came to New York, she came via, I think, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where the boat went. She like hitched a ride. I mean, it's the craziest story. So she gets to this small southern town with her parents. She's like 18 and sees a diner. So what she explained to me was in Europe, like the diner was like this all-American thing, in the movies. So she's like, oh my God, a diner, let's go. So they went to the diner to get a milkshake. This was like a big deal, it was like America, milkshake, cheeseburger. And they went to the bathroom to wash their hands. And she saw two signs, blacks and whites. And she didn't speak much English, but she said to her mother, what is this? And her mother thought she understood what it was and explained it. And she said, this is why we came here? And she literally said, let's go back. So I can only imagine that, it was a sign to her that what they had escaped to, but was really a myth at the time and still is, that it made her feel great. And to know that her grandson was, played some tiny role in that also, must have felt great.
I was going to ask that, what you do in hip hop, were there a lot of people that didn't take nice to you? You talk about Diddy, you talk about Barack Obama who loved you, but I'm sure there had to be artists, DJs, people that didn't take nice to you. And how was that?
Honestly, not to me. Perhaps behind my back. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. But, my journey has been, for the most part, filled, with love, I think. I always try to pay respect to those, who paved the way for me. And not because I feel I need to, because I want to. So I think in that respect, I've been very fortunate.
Did you ever clash with the rapper Cassidy? Like
No.
name wise?
No, but you know what? I don't think it's his real name. I once looked into it.
Oh, your name is actually
His name-
Yeah,
real
my
name is
name's Cassidy.
Oh.
You know, it's an interesting name to choose because it's not like a nickname. It's
Yeah.
like a name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why he chose it, but no, I've never met him. But when he came out, I was definitely like, oh my God, now there's someone eclipsing me with his name, but it worked out.
Well, why did you know why they named you Cassidy? Your parents?
It was like Hop Along Cassidy, like some cowboy rock and roll.
Gotcha.
You know, my parents were like hippie rock and roll New York types. So it was like, you know, cowboy attire and names were cool. I think that's what they liked. Hop Along Cassidy. Cassidy Durango Milton Willie Podell is my whole name.
Got you.
And you was one of the people who, you know, during COVID, you were innovative and you came up with the Pass the Mic concept.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So literally about 3 years ago, I'm FaceTiming with my friend and mentor, Verdine White of Earth, Wind, and Fire. I don't say that lightly either.
How the hell did she become your mentor?
Verdine, I reached out to Earth, Wind, and Fire to play on a record of mine about 10 years ago. And Verdine just became like my dearest friend. He's like my older brother, like my second dad. And so we were FaceTiming in the pandemic, and it was late one night. And for those who don't know Verdine White, he's like the long hair guy in Earth, Wind, and Fire, bass player, founding member, very fly. So he's sitting on his couch in like black silk pajamas or something. And the Earth, Wind song, That's the Way of the World, comes on my speaker. It's very low in the background. Hearts of fire, create love, desire. And Verdine starts singing along. Like just, oh, hey, my song's playing. And I got chills. That song gives me chills anyway. But it's like this crazy time in the world. And Verdine starts singing along to his song. And a light bulb went off. I was like, what if I could find a way to give people this feeling of connecting with their musical icons and heroes? And I immediately like saw Pass the Mic. And I was like, Verdine, I got to call you back. And I called my editor and I'm like, Ian, if I sat at the turntables and dropped a record, could someone sing along in real time? And he goes, no, because they hear the music a few seconds later. So when you hear their vocal, it won't be matching with the music. I said, we have 24 hours to figure out how to make this work. And we figured it out. Everyone thought I was recording Zoom. You can't record Zoom. If you trigger the music on Zoom and the other person hears the music and sings, when you get it back, it's not going to be in time. So we cracked the code. And I started calling all my legendary friends of the 70s and 80s and put together Pass the Mic Volume 1 with Earth, Wind, and Fire, Bobby Brown, Ray Parker Jr., Denise Williams, Cheryl Lynn, Howard Hewitt, and all these icons of the 70s and 80s. And honestly, I pitched it to like every website to premiere it. Just premiere it. Like, we're not talking TV, like put it on your homepage for an hour. Nothing. BET, Essence, Vibe, Complex, no one wanted it. And I sent the video to Steve Rifkin, who, for those who don't know, legendary music impresario, Loud Records, Wu-Tang Clan, Mobb
Big Pun,
Deep,
Fat
Big
Joe,
Pun,
Mobb Deep, yeah, of course.
Akon. And a dear friend, he watched it, called me and said, this is going to change your life. And it did. And I put out Volume 1. Thought it would be very special, but niche. Somehow was a niche. Somehow got the most press of anything I've ever done. Then put together a Volume 2 with every hip-hop great of the golden era. So Episode 1 started with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Episodes 2 started with Run DMC, LL Cool J, Chuck D, and Rakim. And there were 35 others.
Wow.
And then Episode 3 was a New Jack Swing episode, all 6 members of New Edition, Key Sweat, SWV, TLC, Boyz II Men, Teddy Riley. After the first 3 episodes, there were over 100 artists on 3 episodes. Steve Rifkin brought it to Jesse Collins, and the next thing you know, it's a BET series of specials. And I did 7 BET specials of the show. And after 10 episodes, there were 220 iconic R&B and hip-hop stars on the show. And after the 10th episode, I decided to retire the show as we know it, put a nice red bow, and take it to the stage.
Take it on the road.
I'm glad you explained that because, a lot of people feel like you saw what D Nice was doing during the pandemic and you kind of jacked what he was doing to create Pastor Mike. But I'm like, I feel like they were doing two different things.
Yeah, it was two very different things with a similar spirit. And they were happening around the same time. I started filming Pastor Mike, I think, in April. I didn't premiere it till July. First of all, it took me 2 months to make. I had to figure out the technology. And then once I made it, I didn't know what to do with it. It's not like I had a YouTube page with like 1 million subscribers. So the spirit, I think, was very similar. The spirit of using iconic hip hop and R&B to bring light to people during a dark time. And no one did that better than him. What he did in his kitchen, started in his kitchen, was magical. It was magical. And I've looked up to D for many years. I was a fan of D as a rapper before I ever met D. And then I met D in my low 20s, and we've had a friendship ever since.
Who started the hats? D Nice wears those hats too.
I couldn't tell you. I know when I started them.
Yeah.
But I don't know who started wearing fedoras first.
Yeah. Is the show still on BET, Pastor Mike?
No. So after the 10th episode, I decided to end it. So there were 3 homegrown and 7 for television, 220 icons. And, I didn't want to keep going. It was an era. And the era led to so many opportunities and to so many amazing things. And it was clearly time to take it on the road. And this past Friday, Prudential Center, and I'm hesitating because I don't want to say it like it's a grain of salt, but we sold out in arena. 12,000 people.
Yeah, my assistant went Mercedes when she said she had an amazing time. She said it was a great time.
Thank you. I can't begin to explain how surreal is an overused word. I use it way too much, but I think this is like the true meaning of I'm standing on the stage in front of 12,000 people, wall to wall, not a seat left, for 3 continuous hours. I got on stage at 8:35. I left at 11:35. And put together this meticulously plotted 3-hour musical experience with 8 artists who were billed and another 4 surprise guests, 17 artists when all was over. And more than half those artists were on my show. So some of these songs I'm doing now in front of 12,000 people, and I did them for the show and recorded my parts in my living room alone. So it was just truly, truly surreal. I know people say this often, but so it kind of, takes the meaning out of it, but never in my wildest imagination. I'm a big thinker. I do. I think big. I plan big. I don't know that through this Pastor Mike process, I thought I was going to sell at an arena, particularly on the first shot.
Wow. And July 21st, you're doing Pastor Mike live at Radio City Music Hall.
So July 21st, I'm bringing the second installment in a series of one-night-only events to what I think is the most iconic concert venue, certainly in the country and probably in the world, Radio City Music Hall.
Wow. Okay.
And for a New Yorker, that's, there aren't words to explain what that means. And because hip-hop turns 50 on August 11th, I wanted to do something special to celebrate, the 50th anniversary. So what I decided to do was unite 25 icons of the golden era of hip-hop, all whom were born in New York. So 25 New York native golden era icons on one stage.
Who you got? Oh,
you got to go to the phone.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got to pull the phone out because I don't even want to miss one person of the 25 people. So listen to this, New York City and around the country. DJ Cassidy's Pastor Mike Live, a one-night-only event featuring Big Daddy Kane, Dougie Fresh, Rakim, Slick Rick, Black Sheep, Brand Nubian, CL Smooth, Dana Dane, Lords of the Underground, EPMD, Foo Schnickens, Grandmaster Melly Melon Scorpio, Kid and Play, Cool Mo D, Curtis Blow, MC Search, MC Shan, Audio 2, Moni Love, Nice and Smooth, Onyx, Roxanne Shante, Special Ed, The Sugar Hill Gang, Tretch of Naughty by Nature, and special surprise guests.
Wow. And how long is that show going to be?
Surprise guests are?
That show going to be a 9-hour show.
Some. I know some.
That's going to be a 9-hour show.
No. So I'm putting together, again, a 3-hour experience like no other. Mm-hmm. You know, it was really my goal. It was really my goal to channel the spirit of the show. Mm-hmm. I really thought about the TV show. You know, I read all the comments on YouTube, and the comments are like, they're emotional. They're paragraphs, love letters to the show. Mm-hmm. And I've really thought over the years what made the show so special to people. Mm-hmm. And I've really tried to channel the spirit of the show to the live stage. And I think we did that on Friday, and I think we will again at Radio City on July 21st. It's going to be historic. Another word that people overuse, including myself, but I think this show is going to be truly historic. These 25 icons have never shared a stage. And if you grew up in our time, this is who we grew up listening to. These are the artists that lie at the foundation of what became a global, world-changing culture.
Absolutely.
So for what's next for Cassidy?
Well, yeah, where do you get the tickets, though?
Ticketmaster.com.
Okay.
On sale now and going very fast, particularly now that the first show is over. They're literally flying out the window. So please go to Ticketmaster.com. This is a no comp show to all my friends listening. I'm a New Yorker. I have no tickets. Radio City is tiny. My parents are buying tickets. Just buy tickets and buy them now. So what's next? Well, the Pass the Mic Live experience has just begun. So really that's what's next. For the next 12 months, I'm all in to this experience. Every show is unique. Every show, it's not like a tour. You think, oh, it's the same show in every city. In fact, the fact that the first 2 shows are tri-state area is a coincidence. It wasn't really by design. In fact, I never wanted to play my hometown first. I wanted to, get my feet wet.
Get the bugs out.
Yes. And I didn't have that opportunity, but Friday night was just, utterly perfection in my opinion. It was a dream come true, honestly. It was just like, pure magic. But there's 8 one-night only events. Every lineup is unique and different. It's a one-night only experience. And beyond that, there's so much more in store for Pass the Mic. And I'm just truly grateful. I really, really am. I've had a tremendous career. It's been many years since I started, and I could have never imagined beginning something in my living room and having it touch so many people. And I'm truly grateful. And I'm truly grateful for the artists that picked up my call. I don't really believe that I'm the star of the show. I'm merely the bridge. And I owe it all to the artists who pick up and who show up.
All right. Well, Cassidy, we appreciate you,
DJ
brother, for stopping
Cassidy.
through. And make sure you get your tickets July 21st, Radio City Music Hall. And thank you, brother.
Thank you
good
for
seeing you
having me.
always.
Thank you both. It's an honor to be here. Next time I want a gold chair. And I want to thank the Black Promoters Collective,
Hey, salute to
Steve
Shelby.
Rifkin, Martel Cognac, and Power for getting behind these first 2 shows. I'm truly grateful and hope to see you all there. And thank you guys for doing what you do and for having me.
All right. Well, it's DJ Cassidy. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.